Hello and welcome to the Biz Talk Live Show. I'm your host, Shantae R. Roddy. We are here again live with a special guest. Her name is Simone Morris, and she is the CEO of Simone Morris Enterprises. So before we talk to her, just want to give you some information, want to let you know that we're thankful that you're joining us today. We hope that you're empowered and inspired. If you're joining this broadcast, please like us, share this broadcast, comment, ask your questions. If we don't get to your questions during the broadcast, we always follow up after the show. We always have our guests leave their information after the show as well. So again, we are so happy to be able to bring you this talk show where we really spotlight entrepreneurs and small business owners and allow them to share their story, share their journey, so it can inspire and empower you to pursue your dreams and overcome any challenges that you have in your business so you can be a success story. So with that said, we're going to get started. Simone, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Shantae, for having me. I am so excited to be here.
You're so welcome. Okay, so the guests are ready for you. So we're going to start by if you can just give us a little bit of information about yourself and tell us about your business and who it is that you serve.
Okay, so I am a professional services firm and I do coaching. I like to call it driver's seat coaching, consulting, diversity and inclusion consulting and training, and I do workshops and retreats. My mission is to empower women to succeed, so I provide them the tools to do so, and I serve women. Usually there's a range that follow me from about 25 and up, and that's what I do.
So how long have you been in business, Simone?
Well, this week, I don't know if you saw my post, it's 4 years. On
Yes.
Tuesday, I looked up my LLC certificate, and February 5th was 4 years that I have been in business for myself.
Well,
And
we want to
congratulations to
congratulate you.
you.
Yeah, thank
5 years,
you.
right?
We're both celebrating anniversaries in our business. So congratulations, Simone. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yes, especially since that's my third LLC. So absolutely, I'm feeling very good about it.
That's awesome. So you said that you do a lot of work in diversity and you specifically work with women. Can you expound on that and tell us why you made women your focus?
When I would go out and speak at conferences, the majority of people in the audience were women. And I just felt that women were my tribe. We connected. And I think I was hiding from it. So I would use language in my marketing materials that say, I empower people to succeed. And so I was afraid that I was not being inclusive by saying, I empower women to succeed, but that was really what was getting me motivated. That was who I was connecting to. And so I said, I just need to own this. And I finally owned it. I do the training that I mentioned, I do it for men and women because I work for other companies as a trainer. And, when I go out, it's not just to women, but when I do my workshops, my retreats, the things that I put together, I gear it towards women as an audience. Not to say that men can't participate, but I gear the materials towards women.
Okay, that's awesome. So how did you get started? So you do diversity workshops, you do retreats for women. How did you get started in this? Like how tell us.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. So let me be clear in terms of what I do. So let me back up. The workshops and retreats that I do, the types of workshops and retreats are goal setting and action planning,
Hmm.
and also the power of owning your career to put women in the driver's seat for their careers. So those are the primary workshops and retreats. I do a My Life, My Way retreat. Again, that's around goal setting and accountability, etc. The training that I do, I'm a 1099 contractor for certain clients that I work with. So I go and train in organizations on diversity and inclusion. So just to clarify that difference. Now, back to your question about how I got started. Well, I spent a good amount of time in corporate America, uh, over 20 years. My background is in IT, information technology. And I
Ooh,
moved from that to human resources, diversity, and inclusion. I got an opportunity, I went for it, and it lasted for about a year or so. And I ended up leaving corporate America. I took some time off to sort of find myself and to rest up. And then I got a consulting opportunity. And I said, let me do my own thing. But I have to tell you that even though I was doing my own thing, I was still looking for work. So in my head, the first couple years of my business, I didn't really feel like an entrepreneur that was going to be successful. So what that means is I'm doing what I can in my business. I wasn't all in. So I
mm-hmm.
was still looking for opportunities, thinking that let me get back to that security. Let me get back to that job so that I can have benefits, so that I can have insurance, so that I can have all these comfortable things that I was, in fact, running from. But I just did not believe in myself. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I better find a job. And it came to a point where I said, I was, in fact, running from, but I just it came to a point where I said to myself, all right, enough is enough. If I'm going to do this, I need to be all in. And what that meant is really being all in, stop looking for a job and just focus on your business. And that is what I did. I stopped looking for job opportunities and I really focused on building out the Simone Morris Enterprises brand and really went after work with that lens.
So, what were some of the challenges that you found in the beginning? And I like the point that you made about not really being all in. I think a lot of us can relate to that. Thinking that you really don't want to go back to corporate America, but you think it's security, and so you're kind of tiptoeing like back and forth, putting your toe in the water, trying to see what's a good fit, and if you can get back in there. So after you made the decision to go all in to your business, what were some of the challenges that you experienced and how were you able to overcome that?
Well, I think money is always a challenge because you're walking away from such security and it's not guaranteed that you are going to get these clients and get the amount
That's
of money that you were making in a 9 to 5. I'll say stable, but there's no such thing as stability anymore. But what
right.
I perceive to be a stable job, the traditional job. So that was very scary for me in terms of I don't exactly know that I have mastered selling. And I don't think that one of my strong points was business development. So it was hard for me to figure out how to sell and not just focus on delivering what I can deliver training, coaching, workshops, retreats, that stuff. Yes, that's great, but you also need to know how to sell. And for me, it was a big challenge knowing how to package my offering, price it just right, and get clients consistently. And I overcame some of that by investing in myself. That was another thing. I had to shift my mentality about investing in myself because I was saying, I can't afford it. I don't have enough money to take this training. And I think that's a big mistake that we make. We don't invest in ourselves. And it is so critical to invest in yourself because if you don't, who will?
Who will?
And I remember waiting for someone to approve learning and development budget so I could go take some training. I'm like, wait a minute, why are you doing that? Invest in yourself and up level. So I think that has been the biggest win for me, investing in myself and taking that education and doing something about it. An example of that was joining a mastermind group. Now it was $750. And I just did not want to spend the money. But I have to tell you that I got exposed to some really great people and it really up leveled my thinking in terms of multiple streams of income. So whereas I was focused on maybe 3 or 4 buckets in my mastermind group, they were talking about 9 buckets. And I was like, "Wow, 9. Wow. Okay. I'm not
Mhm.
there yet." But it just allowed me to think bigger, to think more strategically, which I think is important because working on your business versus in your business, and you get tied up in the weeds and the day-to-day minutia and not being strategic. So just I expose myself to different opportunities to learn how to be successful at business as opposed to just the trade or what my specialty is. I branched out and started to learn more about that.
That's fantastic. So what would you say is your greatest inspiration that keeps you going day after day after day, even though you know you're encountering different challenges that come with entrepreneurship?
Oh my goodness. I would say my daughter. I have a 3-year-old daughter. She is an inspiration to me. She's so cute. And, sometimes I'm driving her home from school and she's in the back seat going, Mommy, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, what? Yes. So I would say she's an inspiration to me. I have an amazing fiance who is, he's got a thousand ideas that he thinks I would be great at. And so he's there supporting me. I've got amazing family, my sisters, and my niece, and some really great people. I also have a business best friend. I have to say that is a game changer for me this year. I did not have a business best friend, and I now do, and it is amazing. We share so many commonalities in terms of being moms, in terms of challenges, the business we're going after, and I can share and be vulnerable, my weakness, whatever. That really helped. And I think the fact that I know at my core that I want to have a legacy. I want to change the world. And so that drives me to continue to create programs and to fight through, press on, press through to leave that lasting legacy.
That's a good point. So with that said, I wanted just to circle back just on the areas that you focus on in your business, as far as helping women in their careers. So that includes women that are pursuing entrepreneurship as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wrote a book. It's called The Power of Owning Your Career. And I wrote the book because when I would speak at conferences, that was what I was most passionate about. It took me a long time to get into the driver's seat for my career. And when I finally did, I thought, I'm not letting this go. And that passion was coming through in the speaking engagements that I was doing. Women were connecting to it and seeming to want more information. So I wrote the book on it. And then I thought, oh, I want to continue this learning. So I have a podcast entitled The Power of Owning Your Career. So the learning continues. I thought, I want to continue the learning even more. So I've got a workshop entitled The Power of Owning Your Career, and really is about empowering women to step into the driver's seat and navigate their careers to where they want it to be responsible for the outcome of their careers.
What do you think some of the biggest challenges are for women when it comes to getting in the driver's seat and determining what they want in their careers?
I think some of it is being afraid to ask for what we want, afraid
Mm.
of what the answer will be. So we don't ask for what we want. And some of it is not having our own personal brand. I know for me personally, I worked for a heavy hitter company and their brand was pretty strong. Wherever I went, people asked me about the company. And after I left, I had to create my own brand because people didn't know who I was and what I stood for. So I had to diligently pour into my brand so that if I say to people, the Simone Morris Enterprises brand, that it actually means something. And so I think having a personal brand, not knowing where they stand, I think not knowing where you stand with a client or in an organization, not wanting to ask to actually know is one
Yeah.
of the things that we do because we want to know, but we don't want to know. And you need to know because if you're not moving up, it's for a reason. The company might not see you as high potential talent. So you need to ask the question, see your HR file, and know so that you can now have a plan in terms of, okay, what am I going to do about this? I could stay, I could leave, I could do additional training. What am I going to do about it? And planning.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that because I was having a conversation the other day, and I'm glad you talked about branding because I think a lot of times, not just women, but since we're talking about women, a lot of times our identity is tied into the work that we do and the companies that we work for. So I find that a lot of times women have a challenge when they become entrepreneurs, when they take that leap, is branding themselves and disconnecting, right, their identity from the corporate company that they were with. And it's like, even when it comes to networking, because they felt like, because they had the backing of the company, they really didn't have to network. um is what we know networking is to be. It was like, okay, I'm part of this company, they want me to go out to social hour as part of the company, I'm going to do it, not necessarily this is who I am, this is, I'm showing up, being visible, this is what I have to offer, and really getting connected to people and under communicating who you are, and what you offer as a brand.
Absolutely. It's so great that you mentioned networking, because I have to tell you that I really sucked at networking before. I just thought it was extra time to be away from my child, or I thought I could accomplish my networking goals behind the computer, and I really wasn't getting out there. And I can honestly say to you, I can see the difference of me getting out there and networking, and how it's really changed my business. I think it's so important. And I would say to people to invest in your brand. Make sure it's professional. Some folks are using a domain, Gmail or whatever. Make sure you have a professional domain. Make sure you have a professional look. Invest in a graphic designer to create your logo and other marketing materials. I just got a new business card that I'm now proud to hand out. And I think a part of it, there was a lesson learned for me with removing myself from the company. So when I would go net to network, and people would ask me, what company are you with? I felt funny saying Simone Morris Enterprises, because I just didn't believe in my brand enough. But over time, now I'm like Simone Morris Enterprises. Whereas
Right.
before, I felt like I needed to depend on that powerful brand that people would say, oh, that brand, okay, and validate me. But now I'm like Simone Morris Enterprises.
So that's so important, audience, is being intentional about creating your own brand, being confident in yourself and your business, your company, your initiative, and what you offer. So you have to show up and let people know who you are, and your brand is communicating to your audience. So you have to think about, what do you want to communicate? And are you communicating the right thing that is going to get you connected to the right people and bring you the clients that you want? So branding is so important. I wanted to talk a little bit about diversity, because I know you said you work in the area of diversity inclusion, and that's kind of like a buzzword.
Mm.
Um, Everybody is signing on, they want like diversity and inclusion, but I don't think a lot of times people even understand what that is and what that means. And so let's talk about it from a small business perspective, because I think a lot of times we hear about it in corporate America. They have a diversity inclusion department, somebody that leads it. They usually a woman or a minority woman that is assigned, but they really don't understand what that means and why it's important to have diversity in business. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I think diversity means appreciating differences across the board. So, what that means is, let me talk about inclusion for a second. Inclusion means being intentional about being welcoming. And so, I could be very inclusive by who I hire to work on my brand. So, when I was writing the book, The Power of Owning Your Career, I was intentional about the people that I interviewed. I was intentional to say, okay, I want to cover the gay, lesbian perspective. I want to cover the African American perspective. I want to cover, regional professionals. There's somebody in the book that's from Dubai. He's going to have a completely different perspective than somebody in the US, and bringing that knowledge forward. So I still was educating about being in the driver's seat, but I intentionally selected each person that was profiled in the book to make it more inclusive, so that when I am a different person reading the book, I can connect to someone in the book who shares a perspective or an identity that's similar to me, that I can relate to. So I like to say when I teach, I use Verna Myers, who's done a TEDx talk, and she's the chief diversity officer over at Netflix. And she says, diversity is being invited to the dance.
Mm.
Inclusion is being asked to dance. And whenever I tell that, anytime I teach, people get it. They get it. So you can have diversity all you want, but if you're not including people, you're not
Right.
taking advantage of the competitive advantage to diversity and inclusion. So I think each of us play a part. Even if you're not corporate, you can be still less than welcoming in a networking environment, right? So in terms of when people come up to talk to you, you may not want to be bothered with them or whatever. You can make people feel welcomed as a small business owner in networking interactions. You can be welcoming. So think of inclusion from a welcoming standpoint. How welcoming am I with what I offer? So does somebody come to my website and can they see a diverse audience when they come to my website? I'm very selective about the imagery that I use so that others will feel included when they
Yes.
come to my website. That's something you can do as a small business owner. In terms of hiring, am I hiring people who look like me? Can I be open and hire somebody different? Now, here's an example of me not being inclusive. So, in my head, I identify or I think that when you go to the nail salon, it should be a female because that's always been my experience, right? And there was a male there, and I swear it like did a monkey wrench on my head because I was like, I don't want him to do my toes. I want a woman to, and I was not being welcoming, right? Because I had this experience that said to me, this is the right way. But he ended up doing my toes, and he did a good job. But the whole time I was worried about what the outcome would be because in my mind it should be a woman. And so the diversity and inclusion part is about being open to other perspectives, challenging your experiences that they may not necessarily be all true, and that there may be another perspective that might work for you.
Yes.
Does that help to sort of explain?
Yes. And what tips would you offer, like maybe one or two, for small business owners, as leaders to promote a culture of diversity inclusion, if they've never done it before and they're wanting to establish that culture? What are two tips that you would give them to make create a culture that is diverse and inclusive?
Well, they can tap into some industry sources like diversity best practices. For example, it's Black History Month right now. If you go to their website, excuse me, if you go to their website, you can get information about Black History Month. I think you have to be intentional about building your knowledge. So the tip is be intentional, be always willing to learn more about what you don't know. So you can go and learn about, let's say, Pan Asian culture, because I think it was Lunar New Year earlier this week. So you could go to the history.com website, and you can learn more about Asian culture. So learning about it, you could engage with people. If you have a board of directors, you can intentionally say, my board of directors is going to include these different perspectives, and intentionally recruit your board of directors to be different. You could say to yourself, well, when I do my advertising, I am going to talk to different people to feed in because it may challenge my perspective. Maybe I'm going to broaden who I offer to now that I've got this new learning.
Yes, I like that. And I just wanted to touch on briefly, when we talk about communicating and being and communicating diversity and inclusion, and you talked about a website, because a lot of times people don't understand that in everything that you do and the policies that you create and write, for your company, your website, the language, the imagery, like you said, can send the message that you're either not inclusive or that you are. And so a lot of times people don't understand the real importance of your website and what is communicating to the audience. So every time someone comes upon your website, again, you're communicating something to them. So you want them to feel like they're included, right? So I thought that that was a good point that you made, because I think a lot of times people don't understand that, in the language and the content, how you have it structured and designed, and the imagery that you have on there. Because I know some people maybe cater to specific cultures and not others. So if you go on their website and you're not part of that culture, you may feel like, okay, this is not for me.
Yeah, because I have seen I saw a website. I gave someone some feedback because they sent me their website, and it was coaching for women, high performing women. And I looked at the image, and I didn't see a black woman, and I just did not connect with it. So
Hmm.
I sent her a message and said, "I can't. Maybe you want to consider adding a person of color in your imagery because it was hard for me to connect because all I saw was three white women." And it's a small thing, right? And a lot of times there's no intent. There's no intentional exclusionary. Someone didn't mean to do it. They just don't realize. They're not thinking about it. Hey, this is a great picture. These are all the leaders. What's wrong with that? Nothing. But just know
Right.
that I don't feel included, and I can't connect to it. Sometimes I struggle with that. I struggle with that a lot for my business because, as I said, I cater to women, and it's not that men can't learn from it. It's just that in terms of my tribe, that's what um, I connect to and who shows up for me. But I always think back to once I went to the National Black MBA conference and I was recruiting on behalf of a company, and I saw Asian, I saw a person of European descent, Caucasian. And I was just thinking, wow, they're so brave. They came anyway, even though it's a National Black MBA conference. The predominantly who was there were people of color, but other people felt like they could come and take advantage of this huge career fair that had all these top companies there. So, just because something says that it's Women's History Month and it's for women doesn't mean that you cannot participate and benefit from it.
That's exactly right. So I put that up on the screen, because brand messaging is so important. So really think about that in your business. And there are brand experts out there that can really help you. And maybe you talk to a Simone about ways to ensure that you are being inclusive of people's uniqueness and being welcoming in your brand messaging. So thank you, Simone, for that.
Oh,
Um,
here's another one that I just thought of. You can, when you do your marketing, get clear on this is something that I'm going to do as well. Get clear on the different months and what's happening. So, February is Black History Month. So, as you do your marketing communications, target it to speak or appreciate that February is Black History Month. March is Women's History Month. So, you can keep that in mind as you do your marketing. September/October is Hispanic Heritage Month. June is Pride Month. So you can look at your editorial calendar and plan out and be sensitive to these different cultural holidays that are coming up throughout the year and just work that into your editorial calendar. That's another idea.
Okay, so you heard her. Those are the marketing tips for you guys. So, Simone, let's get back to you and your story. All of this is part of your story, but I want to know, like, today, since you're in your fourth year, that she's celebrating her anniversary this year. What would you say has been your greatest achievement thus far?
Oh my goodness. I think writing a book because it makes it real and it ties to what I said initially about legacy because no one can take that from you. It's out there. It's in the universe. You're sharing your knowledge and it's permanent, right? And
Yes,
so I think the fact that I did it once and then I was able to do it again a year later, it just feels really good to me. It's not just one achievement though. I kind of feel like when people acknowledge my brand as a credible source,
yes,
I have people reaching out to me on LinkedIn and they're asking about working with me without me applying for the job.
yes.
I'm like, I'm a business,
Yeah,
I'm real, and I think it just validates all the hard work that I'm doing, like becoming a certified women business enterprise, becoming a
yes,
certified minority business enterprise. I get the communication in the mail, and like I'm a business, So just there's not just one thing. There's a lot of things that make me feel good about staying on the journey.
Yeah, I'm like you, like the small things, like I posted earlier. I gave a recommendation and a influencer. I was in her group, and I'm confident in what and the products and services that I provide. And I had just made a recommendation about a product that I use and that my clients use, and she was like, "Yes, she's right." And I was just like, but to get
Awesome.
that validation, to have somebody else say it, like she's right, she knows what she's talking about. I was like, oh, okay,
I
yes.
do know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Because sometimes we question ourselves, we
Oh,
doubt
yes,
ourselves,
yes,
right?
yes.
I
It's
think
constant work. Constant work.
exactly. Oh, all of us have gone through that. So when you have somebody that says, okay, yeah, I'm watching you, I see what you're doing, it's like you give yourself like a pat on the back. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. That's a
Yeah.
motivator to just
Yeah.
like, I'm on the right track. So that's super fantastic. So if you had an opportunity to start over, is there anything you would do differently, and if so, what would it be?
I would network more. It took me a long time to figure out networking. And I really was like, I was a new mom, and I didn't want to go out at night. And I didn't want to, I thought that I could accomplish more of it behind the scenes. I'm comfortable with the computer. And I think I would have gotten out there more and I would have asked for things. I, my latest podcast is with Gwen Edwards, and she interviewed me on News 12. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, it would be great if I had her on my podcast. So I had like this little conversation in my head before even asking her. I should ask her. I should ask her. But she's probably going to say no. And I just asked her and she was like, I would love to. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to ask for things more. And I think I would ask for more things. In terms of supporting my business, I was shy to ask for things. I thought I could figure it out on my own. And so I think investing in myself early on, hiring a virtual assistant because I thought I could do everything and I was deep into the logistics and little details and not being as strategic as I wanted to be early on. So I hired a VA. I outsourced. I hired a bookkeeper. Understand your key strengths and know that you're not a QuickBooks expert and be like, I'm okay with that. So I think outsourcing and letting it go and let others do the work, because I'm good at graphics, and I was trying to create my own graphics, but it wasn't the look that I wanted. So I just outsourced it. So just being clear on outsource where your energy isn't. Please outsource it and keep it moving and focusing on where your energy is for your business.
I so agree. Because sometimes I work on these graphics, but this is not what I really want to do. I will outsource it in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, and keep your eye on revenue. In the
Yes.
early days, I was not focused on revenue, so I didn't even have a yearly revenue goal. And I wasn't paying attention to how I was doing with revenue. I would say if I had to start over, I would just get really clear on what I want to make, how much per month, and figure out what I was going to do monthly to achieve those goals and just really stick to it and get help.
Help. We can't say that enough. Get help. Whether that means accessing resources and tools, automating your business where you can, highly recommend delegating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like she said, getting an administrative, a virtual assistant to help. Yes, because you can't do it all.
Yeah.
And do it well. I mean, as much as we talk about being detailed oriented and multitasking, you can't give your full attention to 10, 20, and 30 different things and be phenomenal at all of it.
Yeah.
So focus on your strengths, what you do well, automate, delegate, and outsource the rest where you can. Right?
Sounds good to me.
Yes. So how would you define success for yourself?
Success is being a difference maker, making a difference in the world. Success for me is some of it is financial goals, but also, really creating something that I can be proud of. Success for me is my mom coming to my book signing and telling me she's proud of me. Why that's important and why I say that success is because my mom is very traditional. I'm from Jamaica, and in her mind, I should have a traditional job. So she keeps saying to me, how's the job search going? Or, if I say I had an interview, she immediately thinks it's for a job and not for business. And so she's like, how did this job interview go? I pray for you. And then she thinks that I'm not doing anything at home and I'm working. And so to finally hear her say, I'm proud of you, and have her recognize that I'm a business owner and doing my own thing, to me, that is like, it means so much. There's no price on that. It just means so much to me.
That's fantastic. I'm with you. I wish I still had my mom here to do that. And I remember people would ask her, what does your daughter do? And she never knew, but she was like, I know she's doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So they're your biggest cheerleader. They may not know what you're doing, can't explain it or anything, but they're right there cheering you on. So I agree that is success.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents, they want so much for us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's fantastic. So with that said, what would you offer to our audience of entrepreneurs and those aspiring, as far as a few tips or recommendations on what they can do to ensure that they have a successful business?
Well, some of the things we've already said, which is invest in yourself, understand your weaknesses, where you need additional training and help. Understand if you're not strong in business development, look for opportunities to educate yourself in business development, because you really do need to know that. And again, as I said before, really make revenue targets, and focused on taking consistent action to achieve your revenue targets is another thing. Find a business best friend, because you will need them to press on, press through. And, I can't say enough good things about my business BFF, because she really hears a lot from me about, I didn't get this one, or should I go for this? And, I think it's important to have someone who understands the journey and can be supportive to you along the way. So having that, I think, is important. Invest in your marketing materials. Stop half stepping. Let people see that you are a real brand and act as such, and be intentional about sharing what you're doing. Don't keep it to yourself, and be on LinkedIn. We didn't talk about this, but have a presence on LinkedIn. Invest in a professional high resolution photo. Do not have sunglasses on, your pet with you. I'm saying that because I've seen this.
I've seen it too.
Make it a professional photo, and don't just have a profile on LinkedIn. Communicate on LinkedIn consistently, frequently, So those are some of the things that I would suggest.
Yeah, so I would agree. Professionalism is key. And I know a lot of times people don't know this. Your photo sends a message about whether someone thinks that you're professional or not. And if you have a leisurely, laid back in the sun on the beach, your sunglass photo, that's not going to work. So you're not going to attract those people that you need to be connecting to. And so I definitely recommend LinkedIn as well. I think that a lot of people underestimate LinkedIn. And if you're in business, you definitely need to be on LinkedIn. Everybody's taking care of business there. Facebook is great, but most people that are on Facebook are here for personal, leisure, after work. So you really have to know how to work it around everybody already being tired and really don't want to talk about business. On LinkedIn, they know they're there for everybody's there for business, right?
So true, but there is power in Facebook. I will say,
yes,
I use it to build a community and a connection with my community, and they are so encouraging of what I do, and they are to support me. And whereas LinkedIn, I sort of feel like, keep it moving, keep it professional, all those things we talked about. But yeah,
right. Just understand the platform that you're on and how to maximize it and be strategic about it.
Absolutely.
Right. and not waste time just being on social media all day. So be strategic in your efforts and make those necessary connections. So I have one last question for you, Simone. So if you had a magic stick and you could change anything in the world, what would it be?
Oh gosh, what that's a setup. This is evergreen, and that is a setup. I'm not going to say what I wanted to say initially. I'm going to kind of keep that under wraps and stay on the entrepreneurial conversation. Um, I kind of feel like I would change things about the world to make it a safer place for our children. Um, I worry sometimes about what's happening, and it's not my business. Let me change that. My immediate thought is to make it a place where um, it's safer, and I'm not as concerned about having a 3-year-old. I think that concerns me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We all want to feel safe where we live and be free to live the life that we want. So whether it's children, women, anyone that's walking
Mhm.
around, because we've seen so many instances, especially of late,
Yeah.
where a lot of people safety like it has been in jeopardy, just doing normal things. So let's spread the love and just be there for one another and create a safe environment for everybody.
Yeah.
um,
And eradicate some of the diseases that are taking people so early, whether
yeah,
it's cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever it is, it kind of slow that down, because it just feels like it's getting closer and closer as we get older. And, it's scary.
yes. So we want to thank Simone Morris of Simone Morris Enterprises for being with us today and sharing her inspiring story. Simone, if you can do us a favor and just recap for us again your business and how people can reach you.
Okay, my business is Simone Morris Enterprises LLC. What I do is I do driver's seat coaching. That means that if you're half stepping and being the passenger and letting others navigate your career, and you are ready to get into the driver's seat and change things and be a difference maker, that's what I help women to do. I help people to set goals and achieve their goals. I'm a planning master, so with my project management background, I teach people how to plan out their goals to achieve them. And from a corporate standpoint, I do speaking engagements, I do training and consulting on diversity and inclusion, training us to appreciate differences and to be more inclusive, welcoming of those around us. So that, in a nutshell, is what I do. People can reach me by going to the SimoneMorris.com website. You can, on iTunes, look for the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. My books are on Amazon. Or you can go to my website, SimoneMorris.com, or email me, smorris@SimoneMorris.com. That's it.
Awesome. And so Simone is going to leave her information in the comments. So again, this has been our show. We are the Biz Talk Live Show. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did not catch the live broadcast, please come back later for the replay. We make our these broadcasts available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, with the goal to inspire and empower you. So if you would like to be a show guest, we welcome you to come on. We do have openings in April. So if you would like to be a show guest, please visit us at www.intuitiveriskmanagement.com and apply so you can come on and share your inspiring story. We do also have openings for sponsors. So if you would like to be a show sponsor for a week and have your banner up and have a promo post and a live shout out, we welcome you to apply also for sponsorship. If you believe in small businesses and an advocate for the small business community, we welcome to have you on as a sponsor. So again, you have tuned in to the Biz Talk Live Show, where we broadcast live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please do catch the replay. We wish you all a fantastic week, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.